Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Living World of Darkness, Demon the Fallen. The scene is set rather simply. There are, or at least there sounds in the background, various clinking of glasses, of spoons and the like, forks and knives as well, as one waitress, let's call her Nancy. Nancy goes ahead and starts to pour another glass of, one glass of something a little bit stronger, one glass of coffee, and then proceeds to ferry over the various drinks over to what appears to be a rather elderly gentleman, a much younger lad, and somebody a little bit in between, somebody with a little bit of suntan to his face. We find ourselves in a diner about, the clock would tell you 1 a.m., but those fangled things, they usually run a little bit slower. So it's closer to 12:55 than it is 1 a.m. But Nasty goes ahead and continues to walk down to the aisle. There aren't a lot of people around. In fact, she was quite surprised when these three gentlemen sort of showed up at her front door. Didn't even see their car or nothing like that. But money is money, and is what she is paid to do. Her feet are killing her right now. Her heels are just absolutely torn up from a long, long shift. And, well, she wants to be as respectful and serviceable as possible. Whenever she gets back to the bench, after having ferried over their coffee, their drinks, their burgers, their eggs, she goes ahead and takes a long, exasperated sigh and just plants her ass down on the ground and begins talking to the fry cook behind the scenes. Meanwhile, we find ourselves in a booth. In a booth with one Daniel Xavier, one Vincent Cognetti, and a not too often seen face, a Josh Rain, as they talk about various dark things in half hushed tones, half very, very ominous tones, and we begin the scene with Vincent Cognetti finishing up his last statement.
Like I said, the Mercy situation got handled. It got handled by me, and I can understand that a lot of people are going to be upset about it.
Uh, I can imagine. Just Vince, just run it through me ones at a time again, because I've been missing for quite a lot of this. Last time I heard, there was this coma patient in Mercy that had gathered a lot of the faithful to them. What happened?
Well, they gathered a lot of faithful to them because an angel, as so spoke the eyewitnesses, flew him in. A member of the court, if I'm not entirely mistaken, has taken responsibility of making it happen.
And making a really weird claim, saying this city is not protected.
By us, quote unquote. So, I talked I talked to the tyrant about the situation a while back. I made my opinion quite clear that this is a problem that needs to be dealt with. I don't think there's any member of the court that will argue it being a problem. Clearly is. And it's been months now since it started. Maybe the next time when the whole court agrees with me that something is a problem, it's not gonna be left for me to clean up.
I understand, I understand. So the pilgrims at Mercy, they've been cleaned up. Fair it is.
They have been cleaned up. The person who was at that location was killed by a religious zealot. who was then gunned down resisting arrest.
Okay.
A
How's
little
the
push and poke, it could be made for the mortal eyes to look like a bunch of, the religious type got on their heads and the world was about to end, and, well, that was that.
so a situation in which the faithful pretty much performed a Jonestown?
Mm-hmm. That's the notion I went for. Now, whether they pull the right decisions, it's entirely up to them, because, quite frankly, I've been paying for a lot of things this side and in the Shadowlands that there ain't no coin to pay me back with.
Interesting little statement. Pretend I know nothing about that.
Hmm. Well, I'll finish the Mercer situation. There's a decision needs to be made. A little haunt got created with that. No big surprise. I'm thinking of either having a chat with the house or actually taking it to the Landsrat of the little rates and letting them make their bids for it.
Mm, well, Daniel, what do you think about that? This little haunt that just got created.
Well, it's not a little haunt. I've seen it. It's not little at all. It. I don't think. Hmm. Why would we give it to the Lance Rat?
In exchange for fealty and orders followed. Such things, it's not going to be a gift wrapped thing, it's going to be attached with strings.
Hypothetically speaking, what could we do with it?
I have no interest in keeping and maintaining it myself any longer than I need to.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough, but that was not what I was asking. I was asking what could we do with it if we choose to keep it.
Well, if you have the manpower to fortify it, it is an active location. There will be further things happening in the Mercy Hospital anyway. So it could turn into a very good cornerstone for a small kingdom, or a barony, or what do you have? Dukedom.
Because I've been thinking of choosing a ground to set up a remembrancer hall, start opening up trade for memories. This might be a very attractive location.
How far down does it go? I mean, I understand it's not a little haunt, but does it transverse any byways that we know of?
Need to be investigated further if you want to get to the real bottom of it, if you will. It's not a. It's a new place. The ground is still shaky, if you will.
Hmm, understood. Understood. Just thinking about fast travel between the different kingdoms at the moment. I'm sort of flighty at the moment.
I get you. Hmm.
So, the situation with the haunt is that we either gift it to one of the other houses, and I speak out of turn since I don't hold sway over this area, but as the bookkeeper says, we go ahead and lend it out to one of the other houses around here with strings attached, or like you, Daniel, suggested, we go ahead and take it and fortify it for ourselves. Myself, my only interest in this is how does it connect with the rest of the kingdoms?
We'll need to investigate that. Um, Haven's Light can really help us with this. Should be easy to try and explore it.
Hmm. Daniel,
Yeah?
if you're in a position to take the responsibility for the hunt, and I mean you actually have the shadow power to put rates on battle elements and start working on it,
Hmm.
I can see extending it to you.
I have I have wraiths under my command. I have troops. I don't have armies yet. How should I put this? I have a large group of wraith that I've so far been using as spies, builders, and traders, not an army.
Hmm.
I mean,
Well, let me ask this. What kind of effort would have to be taken in order to convert those raids that you do have into a working standing army?
uh,
Just more boots on the ground, I would assume.
yeah, equipment, training. Uh, Actually, I can use that old soul forge. Yeah.
Find the renegades, find the dark specters, see if you can't transfer that into actual working material using that old soul forge you seem to have found. That's my advice right now.
I also have I also have 15 car wrecks that we can use to make equipment with.
Hmm.
It's always a boon when you find that thing just standing here in the middle of nowhere.
It was. It's a start.
Right. The point back over to you, Vince. What about the other communities around New York? This is probably going to set off tremors, but I don't know in what manner it would.
Well, it's in our neighborhood, the court's neighborhood, if you will. Quite frankly, none of their damn business. And they want to make it their business, well, if the court needs us to deliver a little reminder to them why it's not their business what happens in court's business, I think we can manage that.
That and the ref has that place under constant sniper.
I owe a little meeting to Rev about it.
Hmm.
He was speedy in his response.
How is the Reb doing nowadays?
Still the same.
Solid.
Solid is good. Solid is very good. Well then, Mercy situation. Currently still a situation, but a situation that we can now manage and it's no longer in front of everybody.
Yeah. I'd say about the either we keep it or we give it away, or actually we rent it out. Um, Before we make an actual decision about that, we should start exploring it as to see, as Josh says, how deep does it go?
Well, you are the one who is thinking of setting up there for a longer period, Daniel.
Mm-hmm. True. But you made it. Aren't you curious?
That is a small side benefit to actually having done the cleanup that needed to be done. No
Produce.
more, no less. What
Uh,
I'm hoping to accomplish is actually get the rest of the court to realize they want to deal with problems before we do.
Doubt it. To be
I
quite
think that's
honest, this
I think
court
that's a
is a
story that's been told over and over and over again. They just haven't learned it yet.
this court
Well,
isn't even a proper court. It's just a ragtag group of people. Like, don't get me wrong, I respect Lily, but I think she's a tyrant in name only.
Let's not drag this out into politics.
too
No.
late.
Sorry.
um, and while we're talking about the court, who else is around to go ahead and maintain the old guard or the new guard?
Let's see. There's Lily. I haven't heard from Marcus in months. The Rev is still up and active. Um, Apparently, there's a new Devourer called Winter. Um, there's a new Devil.
Mm-hmm.
Calling himself called Jacob Demora. I think he's a theology teacher over at Fordham.
Might be a good idea to bring them into the court more proper. I don't like the idea of a new person simply walking in, thus at least not being neighborly.
Oh, he's already been introduced, at least to Lily. Speaking of devils, uh, not too long ago, the Rev and me picked up an invading devil, somebody that was randomly showing around his abilities and flying around.
Why is it always the devils that do that? Why is it always the devils?
I don't know. He says he's on his own, doing some business, but he keeps mentioning this group of friends. I don't like it, but as far as the other houses are concerned, we've had no malefactors, scourges, or defilers in quite a while.
It is unfortunate. A good malefactor was always a good person to have in your armory.
Oh yeah.
But in any case, if that's all the memories that we can go ahead and keep track of, so be it. I've always been ragtag, always been one of the scant communities of our kind around. Always has been, probably always will be. Well, until the end. Has much changed geographically?
Um, Nothing that I'm aware of.
Still have the people in Manhattan staying in Manhattan and Central Park, Central Park.
Central Park, Manhattan, Manhattan.
What about
Um,
Staten Islanders?
what about them?
Are they still around?
I haven't heard a thing about Staten Island in since you told me. And that's like 7 months ago.
Okay. No news is usually good news. The last time I had any kind of contact with them or investigated any of their activities, they kept boasting about seeding themselves into my hospitals and morgues and community centers and the like. I laughed.
I figured as much. But the others, I, I haven't seen a single one of these changelings.
Fair dues. What about on the other side of the gauntlet? Has it changed too overly much?
Looks at Vince.
Looks back at Daniel and goes, "Why don't you spin that tail?"
Okay. So, do you happen to remember a guy calling himself Edwin?
Yeah, I remember Master Edwin. He's one of the university folks.
Yeah. Um, so apparently his psyche got shattered, so he split himself into different versions of himself. One of them ended up in the Shadowlands.
Guessing that was the part of himself he didn't like.
It was a part of himself he sent there on a mission, or so I'm told. Apparently, with all due sarcasm, he sent himself there to guard an entrance or exit, or in any case, a connection to our prison.
Why would he want to protect something like that?
I have no idea. Whatever intention it may be, it got him corrupted. He turns into this dark entity. Um, some of the other mages were fighting him there to get him back. That was quite a fight.
Okay. So what you're telling me right now is that this Master Edwin guy went ahead, split himself apart, created small little psyches, and sent one of them over to our realm. And he was
Mm-hmm.
surprised when he got corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
It happens to a lot of our patrons every single day. Did he think that he was special? Did he think that he wouldn't also succumb to the torment that occurs around
Obviously,
those thresholds?
obviously.
Foolish. But continue.
um, Guardian fights. Eventually, somehow, they got him back, and then they left.
Okay, they left. So what happens? What happens to the threshold? Because I really don't care. What happened to the threshold?
Looks at Vince. You did the thing. I didn't.
Let's just put it they used to be land there, and now there's a basically bottomless lake. that might not be the healthiest thing ever for wraiths or mortals to be around of. I made it happen.
Currently just looking at you, staring.
Competing option was leaving it open or excising it from this plane. So we went with a little happy with a knife and a brand and got that thing out.
Uh, did you cut it out, or did you just simply bury it?
Let's go it this way. I went there, and you know how we can turn things into ash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that lake currently covers. Yeah. And let's put it this way, it goes down far enough that it'll make no difference whether I buried it or got it out.
All right. Is it much of an environmental hazard then?
For raids, maybe, but oh, you didn't know about this yet. Communities Warfield to me. They're getting reassigned from there. This was, by the way, neighborhood of your community.
Oh, okay. How are they
And
getting along?
well, while they were at it, these mages managed to initiate a counter response that actually got one of the members of community wiped, as far as I can tell.
Great.
No longer existent. So, I'm reforming that community. I currently have some troops there to make the fortifications, build them up. I'm setting up a small castle there just to make certain that if somebody's dumb enough to set up a permanent residence there, we can keep an eye on them and, do the necessary cleanup afterwards.
So another point to fortify and look over the, as you call it, lake.
It's a point I was going to fortify anyway, so it works. And now it'll just have one more direction that it was going to watch anyway to watch.
Prudent. Very prudent. Do we know who was lost, or
I can make some questions. I have some of the community people out there. I can probably get a name.
yeah, get a name, write it down. Nobody needs to be forgotten like that.
Hmm. And then we come to the interesting part of this discussion, which is these university people, as you call them, Josh. They have a funny tendency of traipsing around in our realm and making a mess of things. Now I've
Alright.
had a little bit of a time to cool down from cleanup I've had to do. I was originally going to suggest to the house that we simply, well, take out the privileges of access to Shadowlands. It's perhaps something to consider, but I think we might be able to get away with something a little bit lighter.
Okay. Vince, you control the majority of these lands in New York, so I'll leave the policy-making decisions to you. Well, if Daniel will, then I'll do it as well.
I'm sick and tired of everybody else running around those lands thinking they own it. They don't.
All
That's
right.
that's my opinion.
It might be something if we're not looking to go ahead and create a permanent ban against the university folk. Some sort of tribute or toll could be set up, and if we do create such a policy, to extend it to all the other communities. Because I know for a fact the university folk aren't the only ones that found a way into Haven.
Which one? Which others?
Well, the people in the park. I saw two of them walking on islands.
That's about too many to my liking.
How can they even do that?
Shrug.
Are from? Huh? All right. Another
They're
something I can scratch on my weird list.
yeah.
Okay. A toll. Not a ban, a toll.
Limited access.
First, we need to find out if we say limited access, we first need to find a way how they access our lands.
Oh, no. It's quite simple, I think. They can either have access with an escort, or they can exercise their access, whichever it might be, and risk us taking offense and making sure that they don't wake up next morning.
You'd be surprised how many people try to call that as a bluff.
You'd be surprised how few people there are who have called me on that as being a bluff and woke up.
Same here.
Hmm.
Been an overall good month for me, but wish I could come back more. But seeing as you two at least have a handle on things that our house is responsible for, makes me a little bit more confident.
There is another Holoku. What's his name? Hoyt?
Sergeant Hoyt, old man.
I haven't actually spoken to him.
He was interested in the Queen's community, which is something I support. Oh, which is something you should know, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Queens is currently a little bit of a safe haven project, if you will, for the mortals.
A safe haven. Okay,
You know, there are things that go bump in the night, but those things are very much encouraged to keep that down low. I'm actually using my own pull with the mortals to make certain that the organized crime understands the benefits of the local populace, realizing that the locals are making it certain that no rash decisions lead to, beatings, muggings, random acts of violence and such.
Okay.
A
That
clean
way.
neighborhood, if you will.
Okay.
It's an
Queen.
attempt. It's not a guarantee, but
That doesn't sound too bad, actually. That really doesn't sound too bad. Hmm.
Hmm.
Queens being a safe haven. Literal safe haven, not any sort of gestures around what became of Haven.
uh,
I guess if you take it over one borough at a time, Daniel, you get brownie points if you can guess which reference that's from. Take it over one borough at a time, might cause some actual change.
Maybe.
Manhattan might be a little bit rough going, but starting off in Queens, probably the better move.
Queens, Brooklyn, can circle around.
mm, and for the moment, we have actually apparently, what would you call it? Neighbors in Queens who are buying into the agenda.
Really?
Hmm.
Mm, Such is the story, and since I haven't heard too much trouble coming from Queens, I'm willing to buy it for now.
Okay.
Sergeant Hoyt might know some of those interesting people.
All right.
I know one of the university people hangs in there.
Okay. Okay. Do I guess so long as we know the people from the other communities that are currently operating in Queens, and so long as we can talk to them and cooperate with them, and as you said, toe the party line or get along with the agenda, all good luck with that.
Hmm. We'll see how long it lasts.
Never lasts very, very long.
Hey, if it lasts just a decade, it's very, very much appreciated by the mortals, I think.
Anything to give us a bit of a breach for the upcoming war, right?
Yes.
War. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Daniel,
Hmm?
I should have a remembrancer hall coming to completion on my island.
Really?
Yes, since you brought it up. So, if you take up Mercy Hospital, I can use you as a go-between for the trade portion until you get the fortifications set up and can build your own. Consider
Hmm.
it my little extension of aid, monetary assistance, if you will.
All right. Guess I'll have to first go check out the place. See how deep it goes.
And one last thing, if you accept responsibility over it, you're also bending a knee to me as far as it goes for war effort and maintaining security in the area.
Around Mercy Hospital?
Around Mercy Hospital, using the resources for war that Mercy Hospital gives you.
I think that's only fair since you're the one who actually created it. But as I said, I wanted to check out the place first before I make a proper decision.
Yeah, I understand that, and I want you to understand what kind of a string it comes attached with. And those strings will probably be a bit heavier if you turn the opportunity down, and I'll take it to the land shred of the rates and have them bargain over it.
Mm-hmm. No, I gotcha.
Anything else we need to address? Josh, you would feel like giving me a redress for the horrible, horrible things I've done?
Vince, you know what you did.
I do.
You know those are 200 souls that you're now partially responsible for.
150.
Whatever number you are now responsible.
No, numbers are important. 150. 50 made it across.
50 made it across. Put into your position, I do not know what I would have done. I still don't know what I would have done. You at least understand what you did. You at least gave everybody a chance to do something else. You had the tools available to you, and you fixed the problem as best you could. It's better for this entire situation to get swept under the rug than for it to be any more out in the open.
Mm.
I may have not liked what happened, but I did not have a say in the matter because I was not here to be responsible for it. Somebody being responsible for it. That's all I want. That's all I need.
Yeah. Don't worry. I know the bookkeeping on it.
Nobody gets forgotten. Nobody.
No.
Write them all down. Don't ever forget.
Mm.
That's all I've ever asked of anybody. Now, looks like Nancy's kind of got a slip of paper in her hand. Anybody gonna take it?
I'll
Bill?
take it.
No, let me. I'm the guest here.
Usually it's the host that handles the payment, but very well.
Next time you take it, okay?
Fair enough.
Does anybody want to do an outro, or does anybody want to do anything else?
Nope.
All right. We go ahead and end our scene within the dark diner. Joss, at this moment, feeling like he's lost many, many different opportunities here within New York, but can't go back. The waitress goes ahead and again gets on her very, very tired feet, goes ahead and shuffles over to the booth of the gentleman, goes ahead and puts down the pay slip. One of the gentlemen, the younger one, not the elderly one, goes ahead and takes out what first looks to be a rather interesting looking money bill, being fairly colorful of purples and yellows. And then he goes ahead and shuffles some in, brings out one of the founding fathers, goes ahead and lays it on the table, a few coins of change. And there we go ahead and end our scene. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Thank you, players, for playing. We hope you have a very good night.